Good Tuesday morning, and thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Lauren Lemanchek. Happening right now, rain's moving through Minnesota and not going anywhere fast for some of us. Our weather team is calling a KARE 11 weather impact alert day because of the rain impacts the rain will have on you, especially west of the metro. We'll check in with the weather team for a closer look at the forecast in just a little bit. Breaking overnight in Minneapolis, the votes are in and Minneapolis teachers have authorized a strike. And the vote's not even close, with 92% giving their approval to walk the picket line. Audrey Russo's at district headquarters where teachers will rally later today.
Yeah, at 4:30 this afternoon, the unionized teachers are going to have a rally and a picket here outside of the Minneapolis Public Schools district's headquarters. Now, with the strike authorization vote, the union is going to be walking into their negotiations with the district on Thursday with a little bit of an added dynamic. Now, I've reached out to the district for their response to the strike authorization vote. Take a look at this. This is also the district's website where they will also post updates, so I've been keeping my eye on this as well. Now, the Minneapolis Federation of Educators posted around midnight about their decision to authorize a strike. And in that video, they reference overcrowding in traditional classrooms, issues with pay parity among adult educators, and they talked about how they're trying to negotiate 3 different contracts at once.
We are fighting for all 3 contracts.
Yes, because though we are 2 chapters and it's 3 contracts, we are one union.
Now, we expect to learn more about that yes vote at 10 o'clock this morning. The union is going to hold a press conference to talk about the vote, and that is obviously happening in advance of the 4:30 rally that's set for here in front of the district headquarters. Now, the union has to give the district 10 days notice before they can walk off the job, and the union tells us that they plan to delay that. They are not going to issue that notice until after Thursday's mediation session with the district. And that could indicate that maybe the union is hoping to get all of this resolved before a strike actually happens. Back to you.
The prosecution is near the end of its case in the retrial of the alleged mastermind behind the kidnapping and killing of Minneapolis realtor Monique Bowe. This morning, the defendant's former girlfriend is back on the stand. Elsa Segura pleaded guilty last year to kidnapping for her role in the murder. In her testimony, Segura admitted she contacted Monique with a fake name from a burner phone to set up the phony house showing to lure Bowe. Segura testified Wiggins gave her the phone and says she knew Wiggins and Bowe's boyfriend had a disagreement, but she claims she didn't know what they would do. The big thing to watch for next is whether Wiggins' attorney calls the other 2 co-defendants to the stand, including the man convicted of carrying out the actual kidnapping and murder. This morning, crews are working on restoring services to a St. Paul apartment complex after a fire early Sunday morning forced 1,500 people to evacuate. The fire damaged the electrical system and caused water damage in more than 100 units inside the Skyline Tower. All those who had to evacuate are safe and have a place to stay. Officials say about 500 are in hotels and the rest are staying with relatives. It's unclear right now when they could be allowed to live in their units again.
There's an electrical bus that went out that we are working to source that hopefully we'll be able to source domestically, but may have to be ordered from abroad. And so that would be obviously a major variable that would impact the timeline of the repairs that have to happen in this building.
This morning, there's also work being done with St. Paul Public Schools to get buses to pick up the kids who are staying with their families at hotels right now and make sure they can get to class. Another big story today. 1,000 Target employees are waking up knowing they may be getting a pink slip. They're finding out this morning if they're being laid off. And Amazon's also making huge cuts. Just within the past 90 minutes, they've come out with new numbers. Michelle Beck is following these developments.
I'm watching for when these layoff notices will drop. For Target, we're told it's first thing this morning. Everyone at HQ is working from home this week, so the 1,000 or so corporate employees who are getting laid off will be told on a Zoom call. Bad news is also coming for staffers at Amazon. And while Sunrise was on air, we got these new numbers confirmed by the company. Amazon is cutting about 14,000 corporate jobs. A message to employees this morning from a top executive cited AI driving rapid innovation. One tech recruiter has said big tech is trading headcount for horsepower, all that driven by a race for AI.
80-some billion by Microsoft, 100 billion by Amazon. I mean, these are big investments. And so I think these companies are realizing what the potential is.
Target CEO said priorities for the company are to work faster and reduce the complexity that has been created over time. We're going to see a lot of people in leadership laid off. Target telling us leaders and managers will be impacted 3 times more often than regular employees. Back to you.
Another big breaking story we're following live from Jamaica. As we speak, Hurricane Melissa is making landfall. This is just the beginning of the rain. Melissa has held Category 5 strength for 24 hours now, and forecasters say it's getting even stronger. Millions across Jamaica are bracing for catastrophic impacts. Back home, the Caribbean community and various local nonprofits are working together to mobilize relief efforts as Hurricane Melissa causes devastating damage across Jamaica. For nearly 2 decades, Marina Neal has been part of the Caribbean Disaster Relief Fund of Minnesota and the Jamaican Minnesota organization. In previous disasters, Neal and other volunteers coordinated shipments of essentials, from batteries to hygiene products, diapers, and non-perishable foods, much of which will likely be needed again. She says she and other volunteers are always preparing for major disasters.
Everybody is already boots on the ground ready, but we're always ready. Because a good disaster, Mother Nature can do her thing at any time.
Neal says the best way to support her group's mission right now is by donating online. We have the details on KARE11.com. Live now from the U.S. Capitol, just hours away from the 1-month mark of the government shutdown. Still no end in sight, but this morning the country's largest federal workers union is calling for lawmakers to pass a short-term spending bill to end it. President Trump holding his first meeting with Japan's first female prime minister, strengthening trade ties with a close U.S. ally, and setting the stage for his meeting with Chinese President Xi. While he's on the international stage, Vice President Vance is holding court back home with Senate Republicans. The topic, the shutdown, which is now 4 weeks old today. NBC's Tracy Wilkins has details from Washington.
Japan wants a trade deal that protects its interests, creates a strong relationship with the United States, and avoids increased tariffs. It's a delicate balance that its newly elected and first woman prime minister is walking with President Donald Trump. President Donald Trump continues his 7-day trip through Asia. Topping the agenda at every stop is trade, with negotiators still ironing out the details of pacts made with South Korea and taking steps toward agreements with China and Malaysia. Already, President Trump, his Commerce Secretary and U.S. Ambassador to Japan touted $490 billion in new investments in the U.S. and saying this about tariffs.
The tariffs have been so good. We're taking in trillions and trillions of dollars.
Trump met with Japan's newly elected prime minister, who is navigating the country's pledge of hundreds of billions of dollars in funding for American projects in hopes of avoiding higher tariffs.
We're just signing a new deal, and it's a very fair deal, and we look forward to welcoming Japan into the United States and a continuation, and it's something that everybody is very, very excited about.
Chinese delegations were meeting over the weekend to find a way to also avoid higher tariffs after Trump threatened a 100% increase on Chinese goods. During his upcoming meeting with President Xi, Trump said he also plans to raise the issue of fentanyl, accusing China of failing to curb its flow into the U.S. Meanwhile, back at home, Vice President J.D. Vance is preparing to meet with fellow Republicans to discuss the shutdown. The largest union representing federal workers is calling for an end, pressuring Democrats, while federal workers are feeling the brunt.
It's a lot of uncertainty. Bills continue to pile up. I have car notes, I have children to feed, I have a family to take care of, I have a mortgage to pay. So it's a lot of uncertainty.
Back to President Trump's trip through Asia. The markets are responding. The Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ all hit record highs Monday, driven by optimism that President Trump and China's President Xi will strike a deal on trade when they meet in South Korea on Thursday. In Washington, I'm Tracy Wilkins, NBC News. Back to you.
We have 2 recalls to tell you about this morning involving metal that could be in the food in your kitchen. First, Austin, Minnesota-based Hormel Foods is recalling nearly 5 million pounds of frozen chicken, saying it might be contaminated. The recall includes the company's fire-braised products and were sent to commercial food vendors all across the country. And the Department of Agriculture says bags of this Golden Island fire-grilled pork jerky might also contain pieces of metal. This is sold at Costco and Sam's Club stores across the country. People who bought it reported wiry metal in the jerky. Right now, no one has been hurt in either case. Stick with us. There's more news and weather coming up after the break.